And now we invite Bishop Michael to speak to us.
So well done so far. This is really a beautiful service, and a few minutes ago we had a beautiful reading and a reenactment of the gospel story, the story of Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. And well done to the students from St. John the Baptist for doing that, and for reading it, and for doing it so well. It was really beautiful, and it opened up the gospel for us, made it a little bit easier for us to imagine and to understand. Just before we begin, I want you for a moment to do one little thing for me. I want you to look down and look at your feet. You may have them hidden underneath the kneeler or whatever, but just look at your feet for a moment. And have a good look at what you're wearing on your feet. I noticed myself, I knew I was going to say this, so I was kind of noticing what people were wearing on their feet. And I wouldn't blame you at all if you were wearing Wellingtons this morning, all of you. But there's a great array of different shoes. And shoes are very important, because if we don't have good shoes, we don't feel comfortable. We just don't feel right. It can be very hard to walk anywhere in bad shoes. And if they're cold and leaky, then we're not comfortable at all, particularly on a morning like this. So shoes remind us a lot of the things that we love to do in life, like sport. We love to play. We love at times to run or to dance. And sometimes we love to be dressed up to the nines, and good shoes are important for that. So when life is good, we feel very much alive. And the shoes remind us of the gifts of health and well-being that we experience on our journey. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, life isn't that good either, and that can be represented by battered old shoes that are worn and that reflect, in a sense, by their scuffed nature, the times when we are hurt, when we're not feeling so great. I'm sure, however, that most of you, when you looked down there a few moments ago, you saw a very solid, good pair of shoes on your feet. And they were warm and secure, and very importantly, on a day like today, they were waterproof. Now, at the time of Jesus, most people didn't wear shoes like that at all. If they wore anything on their feet, they wore a pair of sandals, and some of the poor would not have even a pair of sandals. So also consider, at that time, there wasn't any proper drainage out on the streets and on the roads. So all the muck and the gutter accumulated on the actual street. And all the waste was thrown out the doors of houses as well. Human waste and food waste and all sorts of things. Okay, so the streets were pretty grimy and pretty dirty. So if you were going into another person's house and you had walked through all of this, your feet would be pretty grimy and you'd feel a little bit embarrassed by it. So there was a system in place at that time to wash people's feet. And if you went into the house of a poor person, then there was just a bowl of water. I was a little bit reminded there by one of the students who said they had to wash their hair when they're out in Zambia from the one bucket of water. So it was something similar to that. The people had to, when they went into a house, wash their feet from the bowl of water that was left to one side. Now, if you went into the house of a wealthy person, it would be done for you. But it would be done for you by a slave or a servant. They would put you sitting down and they would wash your feet for you. So it wouldn't be something that an ordinary person would do, that the owner of the house would do. He wouldn't, or she wouldn't, touch your dirty and smelly feet. It would be the last thing that they would do. So that's why there was such a reaction to Jesus when he took it upon himself to kneel down in front of each of his disciples and wash their dirty and smelly feet. He was the master. He was their boss. Yet he was kneeling down in front of them, and he was doing something that only a slave would do in that culture. So it was an extreme act by Jesus. We don't really realize that, because we don't have to wash our feet in the same way every time we enter into a house, because we don't have, thankfully, slaves and by and large servants nowadays. We have no concept whatsoever of how shocked the disciples would be to see Jesus get down and do that act. But that's exactly what Jesus wanted to do. He wanted to shock them. He wanted to give them an example of the necessity of humble service to other people, regardless of who we are. Now, we are very lucky today that have so many people who work in the service of others and who help to keep everything safe and clean. And sometimes we take these people for granted, and we overlook the crucial importance of what they do on a daily basis. Everyday life would grind to a halt if there wasn't a willingness among other people to serve others. To serve others. If we didn't have a willingness to serve others within our family or within the community, then things would grind to a halt. So providing a service to others is essential, and it's something that we should all commit ourselves to doing, even if we don't choose to work particularly in the service industry. Now, there are countless ways that we can help and assist others every day, not just within our families. We all do that, and we like to do that, but also it's a bit more difficult to do it outside our families, to do it in the community. And we saw some wonderful examples from the schools in Coal Island and Ballygawley and Donaghmore of how that service can be done to other people within this community, but within the community that is worldwide as well, in places thousands of miles away. We heard of how schools are serving other communities thousands of miles away in Africa. So community is at the heart of everything that we do as human beings. And the common good, looking after the common good, looking after everyone, is the highest goal. And sometimes we have to sacrifice our own needs in order to do that, and that is not easy. But sometimes we have to do that for the greater good of everyone. Now, one of the major roles of a Catholic school, which we're here to celebrate today in this service, one of these major roles is to help you all to appreciate your call to serve the wider community and to make some effort to meet not your own needs, just your own needs, but the needs of others in the wider community, and indeed wherever we can meet the needs of others throughout our world. Now, Jesus, in order to show that, to give us an example of that, washed the feet of his disciples. And feet are very significant. Our feet bring us to different places. It's difficult to go to different places if our feet aren't willing to carry us there. And our feet bring us into situations where we can be of help and assistance to others. But equally, they can take us the other way very quickly and carry us away from where people are that need our help and assistance. So I want you now, as I finish, just to look down at your feet once again. Okay? So look at your feet and pledge that those feet, pray that those feet will bring you during your life into situations where you will be of service, where you can do the work of Christian love, the work of peace and healing, and do it all in memory of Jesus, who washed the feet of his disciples and who gave his life for us.